Welcome for those who are coming from various parts of our beautiful country, from outside Juba. Welcome to South Sudan. For all those esteemed delegates coming from other parts of the world. أنا الكرة سلة أنا داير أقول مليون مبروكات لجنوب السودان مليون مبروكات لنجم الساطع So Bright Star Oye, Bright Star Oye. That indeed we are very proud of Bright Star and the management, the ministry and the minister. Mabruk alaikum Dr. Albino. I congratulate His Excellency President Kir Mayardi for the timely directives he had given to our economic cluster to convene this historic economic conference. I also hail and thank the Ministry of Finance and Planning, headed by our able minister, Dr. Barnaba Chol, alongside the high-level steering committee for the work well done and well organized. It is nonetheless worthy to mention that the origin of this economic gathering was basically conceived by the outgoing minister, Honorable Dear Tom. We are grateful to you, Honorable Dear, if you are around. Mubruk for the efforts. Today it is a blessing to see you in Juba participating of your commitment to stand shoulder to shoulder with South Sudan in its quest for mechanisms that will stabilize its for our youth and women. You may be aware that South Sudan at the moment is moving carefully with optimism, energized by the agreement in the Republic of South Sudan. South Sudan has a land area of 648,000 square kilometers and a population that is currently estimated to be about 13 million. After taking account of large influx of detainees and refugees in recent years. This makes South Sudan one of the least densely populated countries in the sub-Saharan Africa. The drain gradually rises from plains in the north and center to southern highlands through Central Africa east the major geographical feature of the country. It supports agriculture and extensive animal life, domestic and wild. Now we are entering into planning in this conference. But my question is, why poor planning is the core challenge in South Sudan and even many least developed countries? In my view, a good plan should contain at least the following. It should have detailed analysis on the economy using actual data, actual statistics. It must have strategies and priorities for each sector. It must outline major activities into action plan. While selecting the ideal system for ourselves, a strategic approach must aim at the following objectives: the economic growth, price stability. We are being tortured by prices in Kenya and beyond. Full employment for our youth and women. It must address the balance of payments equilibrium. Ladies and gentlemen, our issue of internal security needs to be addressed in fora like this, because security first, any other thing secondary. Our government has taken obvious measures and tremendous steps to improve the national security. Commendable. Improved security and deepening peace will be critical for the direct well-being of citizens throughout the country, and for achieving sustained poverty reduction. A comprehensive approach will be required, including dealing with causes of conflict, ensuring improved security within communities, and improving access to conflict resolution systems and justice. An adequate level of security is also an essential prerequisite. For a business environment that will attract the large amounts of private investment capital required for broad-based and sustained strong economic growth. Our government is doing and has been doing its level best to normalize the menace. Programs for improved internal security will need to be sensitive to a number of issues, And these issues will include number one, interventions related to the large number of internally displaced persons, IDPs, within the country. The prolonged period on conflict led to serious neglect in the infrastructure development and major destruction of costs that we all witness, leave alone displacement. Number two, there is continuing uncertainty about the future inflow of South Sudanese from Sudan, and we must be prepared for this. Already some 250,000 returnees have so far returned. This needs to be managed properly, beyond humanitarian, including rehabilitation and settlement. So this urgently demands attention of the international community. Number three is continued internal conflict among ethnic and tribal groups is an itching factor. Historically, clashes have been among tribes, really around cattle. But in the more recent years, conflict has added child abduction. The activities of armed groups, etc. Continued development of the capacities of South Sudan organized forces is paramount in this respect. Land tenure and ownership is central. In central security. Already people are fighting left and right over lands. There is existence of unclear land tenure policies, rules and practices, and the territorial and symbolic role of land in disputes among communities within South Sudan. The last mechanism in this respect of security is to gain a stable macroeconomic, which is our subject of today. So, ladies and gentlemen, what are then the issues related to public expenditure? Success in building these alternative sources will require an extended period of sustained growth in the non-oil economy that is led by domestic and international private investment. Creating the conditions for such investment and growth is one of the major bottlenecks for our government in the decade ahead. Central to this effort will be a major build-up in investment in the basic infrastructure of the country, which is seriously deficient at this time and cannot provide for the basis of an extended period of strong economic growth needed to create jobs or a labor force that is growing at the speed of 5% a year. This is the rate of labor force demand in our country. And so that we can reduce the high incidence of poverty in our country. Our country carries the lowest adult literacy rate in the whole world. This is particularly the case in rural areas because we have been subjected to 40 years, over 40 years of conflict. So no time for education. The time has come. Where the average literacy is currently 24% in the rural. This is literacy rate. In urban areas, many statisticians suggest 52%. With current low enrollment, at the present time, the literacy rate for 15 to 24 old people is only 35%, especially in the rural again. The implication is that large portion of the existing workforce of the country lacks basic skills in reading and writing. Sustained strong economic growth is expected to generate large numbers of jobs within our country, and especially for the skilled. So all the youth should endeavor skills is like transport of large inflows of foreign workers and domestic pressures on wage rates for skilled and semi-skilled also. And in turn, that undermines the international competitiveness of the domestic business community. We will have to rely on outside labor because we don't have the skill one. Notes that institutional conditions in South Sudan are fragile. Delivery capacities remain extremely weak, and there is an acute need for a professional and accountable public service to create increased confidence in the government. According to a recent UNDP report also, half of all positions in the ministries, in our ministries here, were unfilled. Almost half were unfilled because of lack of capacity. 50% of public servants have only early education, and only 5% have a graduate degree. This is pathetic. So, Your Excellencies, I want to address the issue of weak operating environment in order for our private business to prosper. What do? Sustained improvement in the provision of infrastructure services will require the development of private sector capacities for provision of these services. Such capacities are at an early stage of progress in our nation. A small domestic private sector has emerged, which is bimodal, that is, comprising large number of small or even very small businesses on one hand, and a limited number of rather medium firms on the other. According to a recent report prepared for the African Development Bank, most of the formal businesses in the country are small and medium-sized enterprises. There are about 50 large firms involved mainly in banking, telecommunications, and manufacture beverages. Medium-sized firms number about 500 and are mainly in construction, hotel, and restaurant services, and trade-related activities. Small firms number about 8,000 and are involved with services similar to that of the medium-sized ones. In addition to these registered businesses, there are more than 10,000 micro firms, so to speak, typically individual entrepreneurs, involved in petty trade. Almost all of larger companies are foreign owned, as many South Sudanese still lack the capital to start larger businesses. The International Finance Corporation, IFC, stated that doing business, and this is important for our departments, in South Sudan. He stated that doing business in Juba ranks at out of 183 economies in the world on the ease of doing business. This is, of course, with incredible number of natural resources, ranging from some 32 metallic. Until recently, we used to believe that the metallic minerals were some 22. Recent discoveries have put this, including by Chinese Overseas Energy and Technology. They have put this at 32. So you can see we are potentially rich, but we are currently poor. It is a contradiction. I agree with our fellow who said before that we, instead of walking, let us run. But I'm adding that instead of running, let us fly. So that at least we can catch up even with the region. We are not competing with those people who have already gone to planet Mars. Full realization of this very considerable potential will require concerted action to address a somewhat discouraging array of challenges that currently confront this newly independent country. And these challenges, these remedies will include ensuring adequate internal security, again to summarize on that, because it is always number one everywhere in every country. You heard Uganda, the general was saying that they disarmed they recovered some 40,000 guns. We have started, but we need much more effort. Unless we disarm our people, there is nothing we can do. You cannot invest. Yes. Responding to the challenges that stem from current and continued rapid growth in population and the labor force, promoting broad-based economic growth to reduce the current heavy dependence on the oil economy, which itself is loaded with its own constraints. Developing targeted programs that will result in sustained reduction in the current very high levels of poverty in the country. Crafting a major program of infrastructure development to overcome the current major bottlenecks to business activity and cost-effective delivery of basic services throughout the country. Providing a stable economic ambience that will create an attractive operating environment for domestic and international business and ensure economic stability for the people of South Sudan. Addressing a range of issues related to the gradual adjustment in public expenditure policies that will be required in the medium and long term in response to changing domestic needs and requirements for public service provision. Lastly, designing and implementing programs that will address the present institutional and human capacity hurdles which are confronting South Sudan is an imperative step. At this juncture, ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellencies, good luck to South Sudan. And we say South Sudan, Oye, and all of you also, Oye, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency, Dr. Waniga. We have photo session, and the photo session goes this way. We have the higher table first. You take the photo session, then we have the second group which is the front line, the senior uh, 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 government people comes after that, together with you. Then we have the diplomatic corps, and then we end with partners. Photo session, sir. While we are, allow me to make this announcement. There's a vehicle